So let's go into Maya software and let's just take a look at these three cubes. Something I use often and people just don't seem to use it at all anymore is Maya software to do certain extremely art directed fog effects. So if I create a spotlight, let's scale it up. The scale actually matters here. And let's angle it a bit. And we'll create two of them. Okay. So we'll set this guy's color to red and this guy's color to green. And that was done intentionally. Let's go, and you can see we went into our light fog option. You can see it creates this blue cone emitting out of you can see it creates a blue cone emitting out of the spotlight. If I were to render that now, you can see we would get something like this. What's great about that is if I go into my red channel, I will only see one of the lights. If I go into my green channel, I will only see the other light. So it's an extremely powerful way of isolating one effect versus the other. So you can see that the fog just stops in the exact same position that the blue cones are stopping. I'm going to go in and turn on use depth map shadows. So I'm going to turn off ray trace shadows and turn use depth map shadows. And now when I render that, the floor will stop the light from continuing. And we get something like this. So I could go in and play with the drop-off. Drop-off does not seem to like the IPR mode, so some of those settings we are going to have to re-render to get a final look. Okay, so we'll select one of the lights. We'll go to fog shadow intensity and bring it up to like 3. And this will make the shadows that are being cast into the fog much stronger. So much more dramatic. We could go into 3D textures and plug in a 3D cloud. And you can see that there's a 3D placement node here. We can scale this up until we get this really nice broken up atmospheric quality. Select our second 2D placement node, scale it up. Okay, so I brought in that render, and you can see I just shuffle out only the green or only the red and put it back into RGB. So it's a way of me isolating just one of the channels. You can see that's my red channel, and the one above was my green, which is the light coming from above. So extremely powerful way of isolating light sources in your comp. Just render a red light, a green light, and a blue light, and you'll have 3 different variations with one single render. So we're just going to go in and adjust the multiply every few frames just to give it more of a flickering light bulb effect. I don't want to go in and do it on 155 frames, so I'll go into loop and I'll select the first and last frame of my loop, and now just adjust them and get this to feel like a more loopable curve. So something like that. Maybe that's too perfect, but the point is, go in there and keep messing with it all you want, but you get the idea. So here we'll add another grade node. This is something, again, from the diving shot, particulate. Let's scale it down. Place it in the beam of light. And we'll set the masking back to that. So we have two different particulate layers that'll only be illuminated where the light beam is. Okay, so we're going to just adjust our saturation and our contrast. So you start adding more and more fog elements, your image does start losing contrast, so at a certain point you do have to go in and rebalance stuff. So here's our foreground element. We'll scale it. So if you remember what I said during the underwater shot, I always want 3 layers of depth: a foreground, a midground, and a background. The foreground element is irrelevant to me. I mean, I do want it to look good, but it's more about just getting a sense of depth. I'm usually going to make it go out of focus anyway. It isn't necessarily something I want the users to see or to pay attention to. I just want them to feel that they're in the crowd there, or they're inside of a cave, or they're in the bushes watching. I want them to always feel like they're in there. They're voyeurs looking into this movie. And it just frames the image nicer. So here you can see we have our roto. We're having some keying issues on the right hand side. Instead of spending too much time trying to figure out what that is in my key light, I'll just throw in a quick roto and just get rid of that. So we'll clean up the edge with our in mask. So you can see the wood line now looks perfect. You're not getting the bounce green in the reflection. And we'll roto out the corner. So we have our garbage mat. And we'll create another one. You could use less roto nodes, but I like to have everything separated. That's just my way, but you could do it however you want. So you could see, as I mentioned earlier, you probably won't even notice that the guys in the midground left look too similar to the ones in the midground right, because there's going to be something in the foreground blocking them, and I was right. So we'll grade them. we'll go to our light wrap. We talked about light wrap on the diver, just wrapping the light of the background. This will be very subtle. So I'm just going to crop out that part. It was popping out too much. I didn't want the book. It was creating a tangent with my actor. See? And let's make sure we don't have animation on the roto. So we'll do a defocus, bring that up to about 20, so you can see they're out of focus. The only thing I care about in the foreground is that the audience feels that they are whispering to each other. That's it. So we'll write this all out. And one thing I'll do here is I'll render it out. You can see I rendered it out at 2560 by 1080, much larger than my 1920 by 810. I'll create a constant at 1920 by 1080, sorry, 1920 by 810. And then I will scale my render, which was done at 25 something by whatever, and I'm going to just scale that render up or down to give a very, very, very slight push in or push out. In this case, it'll be a very slight push in. So it's like scaling from, let's say, 75% to 75.5%. And it only works if you make it very slight. If you do it too much, it's going to be very clear that you're not doing any parallax, which will look fake. Here we're adding a node that I like called AK Romanticism. It's essentially a chromatic aberration node. This could very easily be overdone. It is also softening stuff because it's misaligning the channels. So use it. Be very subtle with it. The last thing is a plugin I absolutely worship called Film Convert Pro. And here we could convert to what sort of film stock, whether it's 35 millimeter, 16 millimeter. I love this plugin. If I had to keep one plugin, this would be the one I would keep over everything. I just really love it. And I have it in Nuke, which I use just to preview stuff, but I never do my final comps with this baked in. I always do this in Premiere so that I could apply it across multiple shots. So anyway, that's it. Thank you guys for listening to this. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something from this. I encourage you to see the Ningyo. Whether you like it or not, that's fine if you don't, but just at least I hope you see the amount of work that was put into getting this done, especially when you keep in mind that the majority of the work was done with a tiny group of people in their living room. So if you guys get anything from this, I hope it's the fact that if you want to do a film, go out and do it. If you're a modeler, try to learn more than just ZBrush, more than just Maya. Try to learn as much as you can. Learn Nuke. Nuke can make you a better artist. It could make you work less inside of 3D. And at the end of the day, nobody cares how you got it done. The only thing that matters is if the illusion worked or not. So thanks again. If feel free to write to me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. I'm pretty good with replying. Thanks again. Bye-bye.